this generated off a need, right? That we all felt that was very important, and that helped elevate our states. It actually made us come together and discuss that, as well as we became true friends and family. We wrestled through a lot of things together. We agreed to disagree in many occasions, and that's the blessing of all of us. We have CHWs here, we have our allies here that, support us. And so that's the beauty of this movement that we've had today. And for many years to come, just felt like that was the essential of bringing us together and holding each other through thick and thin, whether it was something that we were dealing with in our own respective states. And how NACHW, or how this beautiful association would assist with things that we were dealing with, as I call it, in our own backyards.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty for me was being able to come to the table from the tribal perspective, because my journey began as a CHR in 1987, and then learning about my CHW sisters and brothers was just an amazing journey for me. And then really just understanding, that it's more of us doing this work in the communities. And I was just overwhelmed. And so I was always happy to share with the tribes about our sisters. And of course, we were the grandmas, we said, because y'all were young. So we would say we're the CHRs or the grandmas and grandpas. But it's just such an amazing thing to know that you have support in this work, no matter where you go. Tribal, non-tribal, tribal reservations, communities, counties, anywhere. So I've always been grateful for that.
Yeah, it's similar for me, Ramona, because I spent so many years reaching out and trying to find help and support as a CHW on the ground, grassroots, and not knowing that there was even much of a community out there. I was just like scouring whatever I could find in like Google searches that would lead to like articles. And so I'd look up the authors and like call the authors and say like, how did you do this? And what do you do? And then trying to go to a conference, sharing rooms with multiple people to try to go to this conference and pick people's brains. And then to be able to come to a table with, the godparents of the movement and people with so much expertise, and see all of that around the table and think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much easier for other people coming behind us because it's going to be in one place. And then what was so exciting as we kept going was how passionate we were about the values of the profession, and how that really, no matter, like Wandy said, there were moments when we may disagree, or it was, we had ups and downs, but what we always came back to was like our commitment to the values and like who CHWs are, including CHRs, promotores, who we are, what we're about, and what is needed to really maintain that truth of what our profession is and what we represent.
So what I marvel at thinking about this, the great privilege that this has been for me to get to know folks that I would have never, ever, ever met any other way, that have the same dedication and passion and determination. And when I think about the gift that each of us uniquely brought to make this happen, it just blows me away, because this is each of us together, and that's like, what's better than that? What's more special than that?
So, hi everyone. I guess I'll say a little. I coming to the table with you guys, didn't know what to expect, didn't know what it was, and I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. I was a little bit intimidated and a little bit afraid. Only for a little bit, though. Let me do that. I don't want you to think it lasted for a long time. But I learned so much, and I continue to get so much from all of you, right? That's an honor. That's a great, great thing in my book. I hope I'm contributing something to you, but for me, hey, it was a wonderful experience. And I'm saying was like we're no longer there, but you know what I mean. It was great. So I just want to say thank you for that. Now I may not say nothing else on this video. So again, I'm gonna say thank you.
Yeah, Catherine, I just want to respond just for a second to that. I don't think you were the only one who was scared coming to the table, right? I
Yeah.
can speak for myself. I was petrified coming to this table, right? There were folks who had been here before me doing the work that I was looking up to, and so I think, for all of us, there was that little piece of intimidation, but it doesn't stay long.
I can remember this going all the way back to the very first Unity conference that I was a part of with when the Center for Sustainable Health Outreach was developed in 1999. And the very first conference was held at the University of Southern Mississippi in Long Beach, Mississippi, along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And that one was a very memorable year for two reasons. One was that it was my very first Unity, actually three reasons, first Unity conference. The second was that I got to deliver everybody's sheets and towels to their room. I would knock on the door and be like, room service, And then the third was that was the year I was pregnant. I swore I could not be pregnant. And so that child is now like 25 years old. So, it's been a long time coming. But just remembering the folks that were at that very first conference and then thinking back to all the different Unity conferences over the years. And so there was funding at the Center for Sustainable Health Outreach from 1999 to 2003. And then every year after that, we raised the funds to have the conference up until like we didn't have any money after 2005. So from that on, we raised the money to have the conference, and just thinking about how it grew every year, thinking about adding the Esther M. Holderby Award, thinking about the generations, mothers and daughters, CHWs across the spectrum, meeting new people. And it was such an honor and privilege to be a CHW ally and to serve CHWs. And for me, Unity was about making CHWs feel like VIPs, like a homecoming, a family reunion where we could all just get together and relax and hang out and chill. And for a Southern person to be, completely astounded by people in New York in 50, 60 degree weather, getting in the lazy river pool going, it's cold. And they're like, it's snowing where I'm at. But just to have that kind of camaraderie. And for every year, literally since 1999, there was some discussions about, we got to do this. We got to develop this national movement. We have to organize. We can't, the whole concept of not about us, without us was even starting back then, but it wasn't really coined until a little bit later, but saying we can't let people talk about us with us not being involved. And just having that grow in every year with CHWs going, yes, I want to be a part of this. Yes, I'm dedicated. Yes, I'm willing to give the time, literally the time, the money, because you didn't get paid to, to organize and help and to do this. And I mean, we shed tears, frustrations, laughs, and just the memories that were developed over the years, ultimately to when it formed as a 501c3 in 2019. It's just like a remarkable thing.
Susan, as you were talking, it just reminded me that I can remember so many times that others kept saying to us, you need a national association, you need a national association, right? But it really wasn't until, the workforce was ready for this national association that we were successful in launching NACHW, right? And so again, that goes to nothing about us without us. Let us determine what our path is going forward, and so it's kind of cool to see where NACHW is now.
And to even really think about the ACHWA phase, where there were so many different organizations wanting to be a part of developing this American Association. But it wasn't until exactly, Lisa Renee, that CHW said, we're going to do this with or without, we're going to do this on our own terms, in our own way, the right way that we feel it should be developed. And that's when I think it really flourished, because it was about the dedication of the workforce and moving that forward above anybody else's funding at the various different institutions, and having, providing a space. But it really had to be CHWs going, all right, we're in it for the long haul. Let's get this done.
Yeah, and again, it comes to the need, the reason why we felt like it was something that we had to lift because of our own respective states, what we were dealing with back home, that we felt like we needed a national entity who can actually, represent us, who can truly, that looks like us and understands, our successes as well as our challenges within our workforce, and so I just felt like, once we were able to actually, be a part of different initiatives that we began, but all of a sudden, unfortunately, the money ran out, so it fizzled, right? And then all of a sudden we were like, you know what, let's just do this, and you know what, we'll just charge right away, full force. And, somebody will see how dedicated we are, how passionate we are about the work, how much we actually do feel that we do believe in a national entity being out there for us. And, that's what's going to happen. And we're going to make it. We are going to make it, and a lot of us, as Catherine was saying, and Lisa Renee confirmed it, I was actually scared too. I was like, oh my God, I'm putting my face out there for the national public to see as a CHW, OMG. But you know what? Hey, if you don't do it, if you rely on other people to do stuff, sometimes it never gets done. And sometimes the people that actually move ahead of you are not the correct ones to be doing this type of work, to be actually stating what is right and what is wrong, and, about our workforce. And so, that's the reason why a lot of us sometimes feel, a little bit concerned, intimidated, right? By those big forces that sometimes make us feel like we have to, sit down and really be a part of the table, but not have a voice nor a vote in what happens. And so I just feel like we continue to be the guerreros of the movement. Yeah.
And y'all, it's crazy the amount of hours that went into this whole thing. I mean, people think, if you haven't really been involved in starting an organization, much less a national organization, I think it's hard to know like what goes into it. I don't think any of us went into this feeling like, oh, it's going to take, 5 years and all of this time, right? But we met for 2 hours every other week for years, like 4 years. And then we had like 4 in-person gatherings where we came together in a room all day with the note paper and the stickies and all the stuff to like hash things out and figure out like what was needed to start this, because there's so much that went into it, right? But I'll never ever forget, it all felt so worth it that day, literally 5 years ago this month, right? Where we're in that room at the Unity Conference and they turned off the lights and we all had our candles and walked up on that stage, and we're showing the candles. And I think most of us were tearing up and crying. And it was just like, okay, we did it. And now all that work was worth it. And we're going to make it so that this is easier for the generations to come. And it doesn't mean that that there's not challenges. I mean, there's still so many challenges that we've got to continue to overcome and speak up against. And like you said, Wandy, helping folks find those voices or use those voices at those tables and demand to be at those tables and demand to be the ones writing the articles about our work and collecting the data about our work and advocating for our work. But having NACHW, standing up there on that stage, holding those candles, and then looking out and seeing an entire audience of hundreds of people of diverse CHWs from all over holding those candles, it was crazy. And at that point, it felt like this huge honor to have been part of developing this organization and helping to be part of its birth story, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, you know what else is really cool? We have a lot of allies who have kind of walked alongside of us in this journey. But I think each and every one of them has known when to step up, right? Because we needed that extra assistance, but also when to take that step back, right? So that we could lead. And I think particularly about, Anita early on, right? And Sanofi, who gave us this little pot of money for us to come together in person and do some of these things. And, she was there. Here I am. I want to be part of this. I want to assist. But it was still us that were sitting in the driver's seat. And so I think if anything else comes out of our story besides this wonderful association that we've created, it's really for CHWs to understand when we have to step up and take the lead, but also for when our allies need to take that step back, right? And let us continue to lead. And you know what? I take that back, because it's not let us continue to lead, but just to get out of the way so that we can lead.
That sounds better. I would.
And then sometimes help us build our capacity, 'cause
Right.
there's so much that I learned from the allies on this board, even, about how to do things that help me be a better, stronger voice in the CHW field. It's that dedication to helping to build the capacity of CHWs that's so amazing, impressive of our ally friends.
Right. And what I respect the most is that when they, it's important for them to also challenge us in a way, right? Because obviously we're driven by the work that we do, the impact that we face, that we do in the communities, and just the whole thing, right? And sometimes we do have somewhat narrow vision, and it's because of our, because we wear our heart in our sleeves, because we want this so bad that we want to actually move full force, right? And so sometimes I feel like, when they challenge us, that actually makes us even stronger, especially those that we know that are truly for us. Because along this way, y'all, there was several allies that we felt like they were, and all of a sudden we noticed that they really weren't for us, right? That they were for themselves. And, there's a lot of successes, there's a lot of happy things that happen, but at the same time, there are stuff that we have to face, as we face them back home, like, racism, just the way how you look, how you dress, how, who you are, state stuff, is a factor in this type of movement, whether it's in your states or actually nationally. And so, overcoming all those barriers, segregation, racism, all that other stuff that we're still dealing with, and we're in 2024. And, it still feels really, still raw, right? And it's been a challenge, for us to continue to move on and notice how, several people that we really assumed that were our allies really weren't for us. But we continue to, move forward, and, the true allies continue to move along with us. And that's really what made this where it is at now. I feel like a lot of the things that we learn nationally, we can come back home and say, hey, this is something that, you know, has happened, and we can learn how to cope. Sometimes we need to cope in the spaces that we're at, knowing that we are the minorities in that space, and just learn how to deal with it and move it forward, and not, you know, be isolated or intimidated by that force, but feel that whatever you're feeling negative, CHWs, whatever it is, use that positive and use that anger wisely and make yourself bigger, and just, you know, put yourself out there, and, you know, you'll be amazed. Look at how many people we're the founders now. Oh my God, it's big. I mean, that's bigger than us. I just always felt that this was bigger than us.
You know, multiple decades of a journey to get to a place to have a truly independent, truly national, truly diverse CHW association. And I know we're here as founders for different reasons, but us coming together, even with differences of opinion, Wanda, you talked about like all the forces out there, but even within our realm, trying to just work through things, ultimately with that eye on the prize, and understanding that we truly needed this for the workforce. And so, there are many of us founders who, really understand the paramount nature of having a truly independent and truly strong CHW-led entity as we approach these topics that I hear every day around sustainability, training, education, valuing the workforce. And I think, we have to support those leaders to, ensure that NACHW can be all they can be. And so that people understand that saying that we've been saying more frequently these days is that CHWs are the workforce we need for the world we want. We can't solve all the problems and issues, but with a strong national association, with strong local and regional associations, I see us really shifting the needle on health inequities in this country. And if any workforce can do it, it can do it to scale. I think it's community health workers, and NACHW plays such an important and critical role in that, particularly in dealing with whether it be local, state, county, and national entities that may or may not have the best interests of CHWs at hand. I'll have to say that. Many do, some don't, and it's just up to us to be that, to stand into the breach and represent and make sure that our peoples are taken care of and supported in a way that helps us, be the best we can be as well.